Chapter 2. Introduction. In the 89 types of consciousness, enumerated in the first chapter, 52 mental states arise in varying degree. There are 7 concomitants common to every consciousness. There are 6 others that may or may not arise in each and every consciousness. They are termed paknakas, particulars. All these 13 are designated anya samanas, a rather peculiar technical term. Anya means other, samana means common. Sobhanas, good, when compared with asobhanas, evil, are called anya, other being of the opposite category. So are the asobhanas in contradistinct chiyan to sobhanas. These 13 become moral or immoral according to the type of consciousness in which they occur. 14 concomitants are invariably found in every type of immoral consciousness. 19 are common to all types of moral consciousness. 6 other moral concomitants occur as occasion arises. Thus these 52, 7 plus 6 plus 14 plus 19 plus 6, 52, are found in the respective types of consciousness in different proportions. In this chapter, all the 52 mental states are enumerated and classified. Every type of consciousness is microscopically analyzed, and the accompanying mental states are given in detail. The type of consciousness in which each mental state occurs is also described. To an impatient lay reader, this chapter will appear rather dry and uninteresting. To a critical and intelligent reader, it will, on the contrary, serve as an intellectual treat. At the outset, for instance, a student of chemistry may find the numerous chemical formulae somewhat perplexing, but he finds the subject interesting and edifying when he seriously attempts to analyze and examine the various substances with different tests. In like manner, a student of Abhidhamma who reads this chapter should first try to analyze and examine carefully every type of consciousness and see for himself the mental states thereof, according to his own reasoning. Later, he should compare his results with the original text. He will then find this chapter most illuminating, and instead of wasting time in memorizing numbers, he will intelligently grasp the meaning of the text. For example, let us analyze the first immoral type of consciousness, rooted in attachment. Somanasa sahagata, accompanied by pleasure, dithagata sampayuta, connected with misbelief, asankarika, unprompted. This consciousness, when analyzed, will show that the vedana or feeling is pleasure. The 7 universals and all the particulars are found in it. The 4 immoral mental states common to all immorals, such as moha, delusion, ahirika, shamelessness, anottappa, fearlessness, and uddhaka, restlessness, must arise in it. What about the remaining 10? Lobha, attachment must arise. Dithi, misbelief must arise. Mana, conceit cannot arise. Conceit does not arise in lobha consciousness, together with misbelief. Dithi is connected with wrong view, while mana is concerned with egoism. Both of them, say the commentators, are like 2 lions that cannot live together in one cave. Dosa, hatred, issa, envy, macharya, avarice, and kukucha, brooding, cannot arise because these 4 are akin to aversion. They are found only in hateful consciousness. Thina and midda, sloth and torpor, do not arise because this is an unprompted consciousness. No sabhanas, beautiful, occur in an immoral consciousness. Total, 7 plus 6 plus 4 equals 19. Thus, on analysis, we see that the first immoral consciousness consists of 19 mental states. The other types of consciousness should be similarly analyzed. Chapter 2. Cetasika, mental states, definition. Prash 1. Ekapada nirodhaka, ekalambanavatthaka setayupanasa, dhammatasika mata. 1. Prosody rate tend. The 52 states that are associated with consciousness, that arise and perish together with consciousness, that have the same object and basis as consciousness, are known as cetasikas, mental states. Notes. Cetasika equals citta plus s-ika. That which is associated with the mind or consciousness is cetasika. Sanskrit, ketasika or keti. Definition. Cetasika is I, that which arises together with consciousness, that which perishes together with it. He, that which has an identical object with it. V, that which has a common basis with it. Readers will note that the author has not given here a log-ical definition according to genus and species. Instead, he speaks of 4 characteristic properties of a cetasika. The commentator cites reasons for attributing these four properties. No consciousness exists apart from its concomitants. Both consciousness and its respective coadjuncts arise and perish simultaneously. But there are some material qualities, such as viññāti rupa 31, modes of intimation, that arise and perish simultaneously with the consciousness. To exclude them, the third property of having a common object has been attributed. That which possesses these three characteristics must necessarily be endowed with the fourth, a common basis. According to Abhidhamma, mind or consciousness is accompanied by 52 mental states, cetasikas. One of them is vedana, feeling, another is saññā, perception. The remaining 50 are collectively called sankhara. Satana, volition, is the most important of them. The whole group of feelings is called vedanakanda. So are saññakanda and sankharakanda. Dvipanyasa satasika, sabachita sadharana, 7, katham, bracket 2. I1, Faso 2, Vedana, 3, Saññā, 4, Satana, 5. Ekagata, 6, Jivatindriyam, 7, Manasikaro Cheti Satime Chetasika Sabachita Sadharana Nama. 31. Kaya Viññāti, mode of action, and Vachi Viññāti, mode of speech. Pakinnaka 6. Back of 3. Vitako, 2 Vikaro, 3 Adimoko, 4 Viriam, 5 PT 6. Chandojati Cha Ime Chetasika Pakinnakanama. Evamete Chetasika Anya Samana Tiveditaba. Akas 4 4. 1 Moho, 2 Ahirikam, 3 Anotapam, 4. Udacham 5 Lobo 6 Dithi 7 Mano 8 Doso 9 Issa 10 Macharya 11 Kukcham 12 Thinam 13 Midam 14 Vichikicha Chati Kudasime Setasika Akusala Nama. Sobana 5 Bada 5 Sada 2 Sati 3 Hiri 4 Otapam 5 Alobo 6 Adoso 7 Tatramajatata 8 Kaya Pasadi 9 Chittapasadi 10 Kaya Lahuta 11 Sittalahuta 12 Kaya Muduta 13 Sittamuduta 14 Kaya Kamanyata 15 Sittakamanyata 16 Kaya Pagunyata 17 Sittapagunyata 18 Kaya Ujukata 19 Situjukata Chatiakunavisati me Setasika Sobana Sadarana Nama. Virati 3 Brakava 6 1 Samavata 2 Samakamanto 3 Sama Ajivo Chati Tiso Viratio Nama. Apamanya 2, 7, 1 Karuna, 2 Mudita Pana Apamanyayo Namati Sabathapi, Panyindriya 1. Panyindriyana Sadim Panchavisatime Satasika Sopanati Veditaba, Brakaf 9, Etavata Ka, Teras Anyasamana Ka, Kadasakusala Tatha Sopana Panchavisati, Dvipanyasa Pavakare. 52 kinds of mental states, Universals 32, 7. 2. How? 1. Contact 33, 2. Feeling 3. Perception 4. Volition 5. One-pointedness 6. Psychic life 7. Attention 32. These universal satasikas are invariably found in every consciousness. 33. Vijnana Taloka suggests impression, or sense impression, or consciousness impression. These 7 mental states are common to every consciousness, particulars 34, 6. 1. Initial application 2. Sustained application 3. Decision 4. Effort 5. Joy, conation. These 6 mental states are termed particulars. Thus these 13 mental states should be understood as common to each other, Anyasaman 35. Immorals 14. 4. 1. Delusion 2. Shamelessness 3. Fearlessness of consequences or to commit wrong 4. Restlessness 5. Attachment 6. Misbelief 7. Conceit 8. Hatred 9. Jealousy 10. Avarice 11. Worry 12. Sloth 13. Torpor 14. Doubt. These 14 mental states are termed immorals. Beautiful 19. 5. 1. Confidence 2. Mindfulness 3. Moral shame 4. Moral dread 5. Non-attachment 6. Goodwill 34. Unlike the universals, these satasikas are found only in certain classes of consciousness. 35. A technical term applied collectively to all the 13 satasikas, which may be either moral or immoral, according to the type of consciousness in which they are found. Anya equals another, samana, common. When the good types of consciousness are taken into account, the evil are regarded as anya, and vice versa. 7. Equanimity. 8. Tranquility of mental states. 9. Tranquility of mind. 10. Lightness of mental states. 11. Lightness of mind. 12. Pliancy of mental states. 13. Pliancy of mind. 14. Adaptability of mental states. 15. Adaptability of mind. 16. Proficiency of mental states. 17. Proficiency of mind. 18. Rectitude of mental states. 19. Rectitude of mind. These 19 mental states are termed common to beautiful. Ab 6. 1. Right speech, 2. Right action, 3. Right livelihood. These 3 are termed abstinences. Illimitables 2. Obraf 7. Vi, 1. Compassion, 2. Appreciative or sympathetic joy. These are termed illimitables. Wisdobrave 8. With the faculty of wisdom, these 25 mental states are in every way to be understood as beautiful. 102 Summary Faraf 9. Thus, 13 are common to each other. Similarly, 14 are common to immorals. 25 are beautiful. Thus, 52 have been enumerated. Notes. Phassa 36. Derived from phas, to contact. For any sense impression to occur, 3 things are essential, namely consciousness, respective sense, and the object. For instance, one sees an object with the consciousness through the eye as its instrument. When an object presents itself to the consciousness through one of the 6 senses, there arises the mental state, contact. It should not be understood that mere collision is contact. 37. Nasai gatimato eva faso. Like a pillar which acts as a strong support to the rest of the structure, even so is contact to the coexistent mental concomitants. Contact means it touches, fusati. It has touching fusana as its salient characteristic, lakkhana, impact saiganyana as its function, rasa, coinciding of the physical basis, object and consciousness, as its manifestation, sanipata pakapanyana, and the object which has entered the avenue of awareness as proximate cause, padanyana. 36. See the Expositor, Part 1, pp. 142-45. 37. Ibid p. 145. 103. Contact is mentioned first because it precedes all other mental states. Touching by contact, consciousness experiences by feeling, perceives by perception, wills by volition. Fasena fusitva, vedanaya vedyati, sa'aya sajanati, chetanaya sateti. According to Paññika Samuppada, 2. Contact conditions feeling. But strictly speaking, there is no reason for the sequence because all these mental states are coexistent. The Athasalina states, for of states, arisen in one conscious moment, it is not valid to say that this arises first, that afterwards. The Riesan is not because contact is a strong support. Contact is just mentioned first in the order of teaching, but it was also permissible to bring it in thus. There are feeling and contact, perception and contact, volition and contact. There are consciousness and contact, feeling, perception, volition, initial application of mind. In the order of teaching, however, contact is mentioned first, nor is the sequence of words among the remaining states of any special significance. Contact is given priority of place as standing for the inception of the thought, and as the sine qua non of all the allied states, conditioning them much as the roof tree of a storied house supports all the other combinations of material. Mrs. Rhys Davids, Buddhist Psychology, p. 6. 3. Vedana, derived from vid, to experience. Feeling is a more appropriate rendering for Vedana 104 than sensation. Like contact, feeling is an essential property of every consciousness. It may be pleasurable, painful, or neutral. Pain and pleasure pertain to body as well. But physical feeling is not of ethical importance. According to the commentators, feeling is like a master who enjoys a dish prepared by a cook. The latter is compared to the remaining mental states that constitute a thought complex. Strictly speaking, it is feeling that experiences an object when it comes in contact with the senses. It is this feeling that experiences the desirable or undesirable fruits of an action done in this or in a previous birth. Besides this mental state, there is no soul or any other agent to experience the result of the action. It should be understood here that Nibbanic bliss is not connected with feeling. Nibbanic bliss is certainly the highest happiness, sukha, but it is the happiness of relief from suffering. It is not the enjoyment of a pleasurable object. 4. Sa'a plus a, to know. Compare Latin cognosce, to know. The meaning of this term widely varies according to the context. To avoid unnecessary confusion, it is best to understand the specific meaning used in this particular connection as a universal mental state. The chief characteristic of sa'a, is the cognition of an object by way of a mark as blue, etc. It is sa'a that 105 enables one to recognize an object that has once been perceived by the mind through the senses. Its procedure is likened to the carpenter's recognition of certain kinds of wood by the mark he had made on each, to the treasurer's specifying certain articles of jewelry by the ticket on each, to the wild animal's discernment in the scarecrow of the work of man. Sa, therefore, means simple sense perception. Perception, according to a modern dictionary of philosophy, is the apprehension of ordinary sense objects, such as trees, houses, chairs, etc., on the occasion of sensory stimulation. Perception is not used here in the sense employed by early modern philosophers such as Bacon, Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz. As one of the 5 khandhas, aggregates, sa is used in the sense of perception. Could it be that memory is due to this sa? Sa, va, and pa'a should be differentiated from one another. Sa is like the mere perception of a rupee coin by a child. By its whiteness, roundness, and size, it merely recognizes the coin as a rupee, utterly ignorant of its monetary value. A man, for instance, discerns its value and its utility, but is not aware of its chemical composition. Va'a is comparable to the ordinary man's knowledge of the rupee. Pa is like the analytical knowledge of a chemist who knows all its chemical properties in every detail. 5. Satana. Both satana and citta are derived from the same root, sit, to think. In the case of citta, mind or consciousness, the root assumes the meaning of discernment, vijnana, while in cetana it is used in the sense of coordination, abhisandana, and accumulation, ayhana. According to the Athasalina and Vibhavini Takasatana, is that which coordinates the mental states associated with itself on the object of consciousness. Atana sampayut dhamme aramae abhisandahati. Like a chief disciple, or like a carpenter who fulfills his duties and regulates the work of others as well, so does Cetana fulfill its own function and regulate the function of other concomitants associated with itself. A further explanation has been offered. Cetana is that which arrives at action in conditioning the conditioned. Saikatabisaikarai vabayaparu apajati cetana. Cetana is that which plays a predominant part in all actions, moral and immoral. Shwezanong says that according to Ledi Sayadaw, the Burmese Abhidhamma scholar, Cetana acts on its concomitants, acts in getting the object, and acts on accomplishing the task, i.e., determines action. Compendium, p. 236. The most significant mental state in the mundane consciousness, Lokia, is this cetana, while in the Supra 107 mundane it is pa, wisdom or insight. Mundane thoughts tend to accumulate kamma. Supramundane thoughts, on the contrary, tend to eradicate kamma. Hence, cetana in the supramundane consciousness does not constitute kamma. Cetana in every moral and immoral type of mundane consciousness, on the other hand, is regarded as kamma. Although cetana is found in vipaka types of consciousness too, it is of no moral significance as it lacks accumulative power. It is this cetana that is alluded to as saikara and kamma bhava in the Paññika Samappada. In the Pakakak Khandha, by saikara khandha are meant the 50 mental states, excluding Vedana and Psyche, with cetana as the foremost. From a psychological standpoint, cetana determines the activities of the mental states associated with it. From an ethical standpoint, it determines its inevitable consequences. Hence, where there is no cetana, there is no kamma. 6. Ekagata. Eka plus aga plus ta, one-pointedness or concentration on one object, or focusing the mind on one object. It is like a steady lamp flame in a windless place. It is like a firmly fixed pillar that cannot be shaken by the wind. It is like water that binds together several substances to form one concrete compound. This mental state prevents its adjuncts from dissipation and fixes them on one object. 108. This one-pointedness is one of the 5 jhana factors. When it is developed and cultivated, it is designated samadhi. It is the germ of all attentive, selected, focused, or concentrated consciousness. Compendium 41. 7. Javatindriya. Javata equals life. Indriya, controlling faculty or principle. It is called Javata because it sustains its co-associates. It is called Indriya because it controls its co-associates. Although Satana determines the activities of all mental states, it is Javatindriya that infuses life into Cetana and other concomitants. Javatindriya is twofold, namely psychic life, Nama-Javatindriya, and physical life, Rupa-Javatindriya. Mental states are vitalized by psychic life, while material phenomena are vitalized by physical life. As lotuses are sustained by water, an infant is sustained by a nurse, so are mental states and material phenomena sustained by Javatindriya. One Rupa-Javatindriya lasts for 17 thought moments. 17 Nama-Javatindriyas arise and perish during the brief life of one Rupa-Javatindriya. There is a certain kind of Rupa-Javatindriya in plant life, but Rupa-Javatindriya in men and animals is differentiated from that which exists in plants, because the former is conditioned by past karma. Both Nama-Javatindriya and Rupa-Javatindriya arise at the moment of conception. They simultaneously perish at the moment of decease. Hence, death is regarded as the destruction of this Javatindriya. Immediately after, due to the power of karma, another Nama-Javatindriya arises in the subsequent birth at the moment of conception. Simultaneous with the arising of the one Nama-Javatindriya, there arise 3 Rupa-Javatindriyas in the case of a human being, 38. Just as a boatman depends on the boat, and the boat depends on the boatman, even so Javatindriya depends on mind and matter depend on Javatindriya. 8. Manasikara. The literal meaning of the term is making in the mind. Turning the mind towards the object is the chief characteristic of Manasikara. It is like the rudder of a ship, which is indispensable to take her directly to her destination. Mind without Manasikara is like a rudderless ship. Manasikara is also compared to a charioteer that sits with close attention on 2 well-trained horses, mind and object, as regards their rhythmical movements. Manasikara should be distinguished from vitakka, which is to fall low. The former directs its concomitants to the object, while the latter applies or throws pakipanto via them 38. They are the Rupa-Javatindriyas of the body decad, kayadasaka, sex decad, bhavadasaka, and seat decad, vathudasaka. CCS 610 on the object. Vitakka is like a favorite courtier that introduces a villager, mind, into the presence of a king, object. Attention is the closest equivalent to Manasikara, although the Pali term does not fully connote the meaning attached to the English word from a strictly philosophical standpoint. As a mental state, it is mere spontaneous attention. In Manasikara, as in attention, there is no peculiar vividness or clarity. To Sa'a may be attributed this vividness to some extent. Could Manasikara also be an aid to memory, as it is common to all types of consciousness, whether mundane or supramundane? Hence they are designated Sabachita Sadharana. 9. Vitakka, vitak, to think. It is difficult to suggest a suitable rendering for this Pali term, which assumes different meanings in the suttas and Abhidhamma. In the Sutta Piññaka, it has been employed in the sense of notions, ideas, thoughts, reasoning, etc. In the Abhidhamma, it is used in a specific technical sense. Lifting of the concomitants to the object, abhiniropa'a, is its chief characteristic. As someone ascends to the king's palace depending on a king's favorite, relative or friend, likewise consciousness ascends to the object depending on vitakka, asalina, p. 114. Vitakka may well be defined as the application of the 111 concomitants on the object. Manasikara, as stated above, is the directing of the concomitants to the object. The distinguishing characteristics of these 2 cetasikas should be clearly understood. Different values are attached to vitakka when it is used in different connections. As an ordinary particular, pakyaka, mental state, it is simply called vitakka. When it is developed and cultivated, it becomes the foremost factor of the first jhana. Then it is termed apana, because the mind is steadfastly fixed on the object. The ordinary vitakka simply throws the mind to the surface of the object. In the subsequent jhanas, vitakka is, however, inhibited, owing to the habitual association with the object. A villager, for instance, who visits the king's palace for the first time, needs the introduction of a favorite courtier. For his subsequent visits, no such introduction is necessary, as he is acquainted with the place. It is this developed apana vitakka that is known as samadhi or concentration. When vitakka is present in the supramundane path consciousness, Lokuttara Magasitta, it is termed sammasaikappa, right thoughts, because it eliminates wrong thoughts and applies the mind to Nibbàna. Vitakka is used in entirely a different sense when used in connection with the temperaments of individuals. Vitakka karita means one of a discursive temperament. CC 1, note 38. 10. Vikara, V plus garokar, to wander. Like vitakka, vikara too is employed in a technical sense in Abhidhamma. Vikara is the continued exercise of the mind on the object. Examination, anumajana, is its chief characteristic. So far the renderings for vitakka and vikara are initial and sustained application respectively. Both terms should be distinguished. Like a bee alighting on a lotus is vitakka, like its gyrating around the lotus is vikara. Like the flappings of a bird about to fly is vitakka. Like its planning movements in the sky is vikara. Like the beating of a drum or bell is vitakka. Like its reverberation is vikara. Vikara is also a jhana factor. It inhibits vicikicca, doubt or indecision. Sich 1, note 39. 11. Adimokha. Adi plus muk, to release. Literally, the term means release onto. Adimokha releases the mind onto the object. Its chief characteristic is decision or choosing, and is opposed to vicikicca, doubt or indecision. It makes the decision, just this one. Imamade Sanyanakara, 113. It is compared to a judge that decides a case. It is also compared to a steady pillar owing to its unwavering state. 12. Virya, derived from aja to gos a. Vi is substituted for aj. Vara is one who strenuously carries on his work uninterruptedly. It is defined as the state or action of energetic persons, varano kama, or it is that which is effected or carried out methodically, vitina arayatabo pavatatabo va. It has the characteristic of supporting, upathambana, upholding pagaha, sustaining, usahana. As an old house is supported by new pillars, even so concomitants are aided and supported by virya. Just as a strong reinforcement would help an army to hold on instead of retreating, even so virya upholds or uplifts its concomitants. Virya is regarded as a controlling factor, indriya, because it overcomes idleness. It is also regarded as one of the 5 powers bala, because it cannot be shaken by its opposite idleness. Virya serves as one of the 4 means of accomplishing one's ends, iddhipada. It is this virya that appears as 4 modes of supreme efforts, samapadhana. Virya is sublimated as one of the 7 factors of enlightenment, bodhicitta. Finally, it has been elevated to one of the 8 members of the Noble Path, anyagika magga, as samavayama, right effort. 114. Athasalina states that virya should be regarded as the root of all achievements. Effort, exertion, energy are suggested as best equivalents. 13. Sich 1, note 40. 14. Chanda, derived from chad, to wish. The chief characteristic of chanda is the wish to do, katukamyata. It is like the stretching of the hand to grasp an object. This unmoral chanda should be distinguished from immoral lobha, which is clinging to an object. There are 3 kinds of chandas, namely, kamachanda, which is sensual craving, one of the 5 hindrances, navaraha. This is ethically immoral. Katakamyata chanda, the mere wish to do. This is ethically unmoral. Dhammachanda, righteous wish. It is this dhammachanda that impelled Prince Siddhartha to renounce royal pleasures. Of them, it is katakamyata chanda, meaning attached to this particular mental state, that serves as one of the 4 dominant influences, adipati. Xuezhan Ong says, the effort of conation or will is due to virya. Prosody, perti signifies an interest in the object. Chanda constitutes the intention with respect to object. Compendium 15. Buddhists have this dhammachanda for the realization of Nibbàna. It is not a kind of craving. 15. Moha, derived from crux ma, to be stupefied, to be deluded. Moha is one of the 3 roots of evil and is common to all immoral types of consciousness. It is opposed to pa, wisdom. The chief characteristic of moha is confusion with regard to the nature of an object. Moha clouds one's knowledge with regard to kama and its consequences and the 4 noble truths. 16. Ahirika, an abstract noun formed of plus hirika. He who is not ashamed of doing evil is a hiriko. The state of such a person is a hirikari equals a hirikau. One who has hiri recoils from evil, just as a cock's feather shrinks in front of fire. One who has no hiri would commit any evil without the least compunction. 17. Anottappa, na plus ava plus gatap, to be tormented. Ottappa is fear to do evil, i.e., fear of the consequences. Anottappa is its opposite and is compared to a moth that is singed by fire. A person who is afraid of fire would not touch it, but a moth, unaware of the consequences, 116 attracted by fire, would get burnt. In the same way, a person without tappa would commit evil and suffer in states of woe. Both these terms, hiri and atappa, are found in conjunction. Hiri should be differentiated from ordinary shyness, and atappa from ordinary fear of any individual. Fear is regarded as one of the 10 armies of Mara. A Buddhist is not expected to be afraid of any individual, even a god, for Buddhism is not based on the fear of the unknown. Hiri arises from within, and atappa from without. Suppose, for instance, there is a piece of iron, one end of which is heated, and the other smeared with filth. The filthy end one would not touch owing to disgust, and the other end through fear. Hiri is compared to the former, and atappa to the latter. The following note by Mrs. Rhys-Davids on hiri and atappa clearly depicts the difference between these relative mental constituents. Hiri and atappa, as analysed by Buddhaghosa, present points of considerable ethical interest. Taken together, they give us the emotional and conative aspect of the modern notion of conscience, just as sati represents its intellectual side. The former term is equivalent to shame, lajja, the latter to anguish, abego, over evil doing. Hiri has its source within. Ottappu springs from without. Hiri is autonomous, atadipati. Ottappu, heteronomous, influenced by society, lokadipati. The former is established on shame, the latter on dread. Here is the cleaned-up text with the OCR noise fixed and the number sequence continuing seamlessly. The former is marked by consistency, the latter by discernment of the danger and fearsomeness of error. The subjective source of hiri is fourfold, viz., the idea of what is due to one's birth, age, worth, and education. Thus, one having hiri will think, only mean folk, fishers, etc., children, poor wretches, the blind and ignorant, would do such an act, and refrains. The external source of atappa is the idea that the body of the faithful will blame you, and hence one refrains. If a man has hiri, he is, as said the Buddha, his own best master. To one who is sensitive by way of atappa, the masters of the faith are the best guides. In a supplementary paragraph, the marks, consistency, etc. are thus explained. In hiri, one reflects on the worth of one's birth, one's teacher, one's estate, and one's fellow students. In atappa, one feels dread at self-reproach, the blame of others, chastisement, and retribution in another life. Buddhist Psychology, p. 20. Hiri and atappa are regarded as the two dominant factors that rule the world. Prosody rate, Nisen. No civilized society can exist without them. 18 up, above, plus kudu do, to waver, to shake off. Udutasa bu dokka, state of throwing up. It is compared to the disturbed state of a heap of ashes when hit with a stone. It is the unsettled state of mind and is opposed to collectedness, vipassana. As one of the 5 hindrances, it is the antithesis of sukha, happiness. In some rare instances, uddhaka is used in the sense of puffed-up state of mind, corresponding to conceit. Here it is not used in that sense. As a rule, uddhaka is differentiated from mana because both of them are treated as samyojanas, fetters. These 4, viz., moha, ahirika, anottappa, uddhaka, that head the list of immoral satasikas, are common to all immoral types of consciousness. 19 lobha, C1, note 9. 20 dithi, C1, note 11. The difference between moha and dithi should be noted. The former clouds the object, the latter deals with one's views, such as this indeed is truth and the rest is false. Dithi is opposed to jnana, wisdom. The former rejects the real nature and views wrongly. The latter discerns the object as it is. When the Pali term dithi is used alone, unqualifyingly, it is employed in the sense of miccha dithi, wrong belief. Samadhithi, or amoha, is used as the antithesis of moha. 21 mana, derived from man, to think. 22. See Sech 1 Note 9. 23. Issa, derived from I plus gross su, to be envious, to be jealous. It has the characteristic of envying others' success and prosperity. As such, it is objective. 24. Makarya, macharasa bhavo, the state of an avaricious person. Commentary gives another explanation. Let not this wonder be to others, but to myself. Ma idam acharyam anyesam hotu, mehameva hotu. The chief characteristic of macharya is the concealment of one's prosperity. Contrary to issa, this is subjective. Both issa and macharya are regarded as the friends of dosa, because each of them arises with it. 25. Kukucha. Kukatasa bhavo equals kukukam, the state of having done amiss. According to the commentary, evil that is done is ku plus kata, and so is good that is not done. Remorse over the evil that is done is kukucha, and so is remorse over the good that is not done. It has the characteristic of grieving over the evil that is done and the good that is not done. Dhammasangani explains, what is worry? Consciousness of what is lawful in something that is unlawful. Consciousness of what is unlawful in something that is lawful. Consciousness of what is immoral in something that is moral. Consciousness of what is moral in something that is immoral. All this sort of worry, fidgeting, over-scrupulousness, remorse of conscience, mental sacrificing, this is what is called worry. Buddhist Psychology, p. 313. Kukucha is one of the 5 hindrances and is used together with udacha. It pertains to past things only. According to Vinaya, kukucha is healthy doubt with regard to rules and is commended. According to Abhidhamma, on the contrary, it is repentance which is not commended. 26. Thena, derived from krutha, to shrink, na, thena equals thana, thena. It is the shrinking state of the mind like a cock's feather before fire. It is opposed to virya. Thena is explained as cittagalanyam, sickness of the mind. As such, it is the antithesis of chittakamanyata, adaptability of the mind, one of the subhana satasikas. 27. Midda, derived from mid, to be inactive, to be inert, to be incapable. This is the morbid state of the mental factors. Both thena and midda are always used in conjunction, and are one of the 5 hindrances. They are inhibited by vitakka, initial application, one of the jhana factors. Midda, too, is opposed to virya. Where there are thena and midda, there is no virya. Midda is explained as the kaya gelanya, sickness of the mental body. Here body is not used in the sense of material form, but is applied to the body of mental factors, viz., vedana, sanya, and sankhara, feeling, perception, and the remaining 50 mental factors. Hence, midda is the antithesis of kaya kamanyata, adaptability of mental factors. Both thena and midda are explained in the Dhammasangani as follows. What is stolidity, thena? That which is indisposition, unwieldiness of intellect, adhering and cohering, clinging, cleaving to, stickiness, stolidity, that is, a stiffening, a rigidity of the intellect. This is called stolidity. What is torpor, midda? That which is indisposition, unwieldiness of sense, a shrouding, enveloping, barricading within. Torpor, that which is sleep, drowsiness, sleep, slumbering, somnolence. This is called torpor. Buddhist Psychology, pp. 311, 312. 28. Vicikiccha, Ch 1, note 13. Vicikiccha, as a hindrance, does not mean doubts with regard to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, etc. Majjhima Nikaya commentary states, it is so called because it is incapable of deciding that it is as such. Idam evidanti nichatum asamatha vatoti vicikiccha. 29. Sada, sam, well, to establish, to place, to put. Sanskrit shraddha is composed of shrat equals faith plus code da, to establish. According to Pali, sada is well-established confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Purification, sampasana, of its mental associates is its chief characteristic. It is compared to the water purifying gem of the universal monarch. This particular gem, when thrown into water, causes mud and water weeds to subside. The water is consequently purified. In the same way, sada purifies the mind of its stains. This sada is not blind faith. It is confidence based on knowledge. One might question whether a non-Buddhist could also possess this sada. Atha Salini raises this very question and provides an answer which is rather unsatisfactory and inadequate. Do men of false opinions not believe in their own teachers? questions Venerable Buddhaghosa. His answer is, they do, but that is not saddha. It is a mere acquiescence in words, vakana sampaticchanamattameva. If saddha is limited only to Buddhists, what shall we say when a non-Buddhist places his faith or confidence in his teacher? Surely his mind also gets purified to some extent when he thinks of his particular religious teacher. Could it be ditthi false view? Then it is immoral, akusala. In such a case, there is no occasion for a non-Buddhist to experience a moral consciousness. Would it not be more correct to say that saddha is mere confidence or faith, instead of restricting it to the triple gem? Dhammasangani explains saddha as follows. The faith which on that occasion is trusting in, the professing confidence in, the sense of assurance, faith as a faculty and as a power. Buddhist Psychology, page 14. Saddha is also apprehension intuitively of experience or knowledge gathered in past births. Sati, derived from sa, to remember. Sati does not exactly correspond to the Western conception of memory. Mindfulness is a better equivalent for sati. It has to be developed. In the Satipatthana Sutta are described in detail various methods to develop this sati. When it is highly developed, one acquires the power of remembering past births. It is this sati that is regarded as one of the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Sati tends to present before oneself good things without allowing them to be forgotten. Its chief characteristic is not floating away, apilapana. Unlike pumpkins and pots that float on water, sati plunges into the object of thought. It should be noted that this particular sati is not found in immoral types of consciousness. What is found in immoral consciousness is miccha sati, wrong mindfulness. Dhammasangani explains sati as follows. The mindfulness which on that occasion is recollecting, calling back to mind. The mindfulness which is remembering, bearing in mind the opposite of superficiality and of obliviousness. Mindfulness as faculty. Mindfulness as power, right mindfulness. Buddhist Psychology, page 16. Commenting on sati, Mrs. Rhys-Davids says, Buddhaghosa's comment on sati, in which he closely follows and enlarges on the account in Mill 37-38, shows that the traditional conception of that aspect of consciousness had much in common with the Western modern theory of conscience or moral sense. Sati appears under the metaphor of an inward mentor, discriminating between good and bad, and prompting choice. Hardy went so far as to render it by conscience, but this slurs over the interesting divergencies between Eastern and Western thought. The former is quite unmystical on the subject of sati. It takes the psychological process, or representative functioning, without bringing out the distinction between bare memory and judgment, and presents the same under an ethical aspect. Buddhist Psychology, page 16. Hiri and Ottappa, Siya Hirika and Anottappa Aloba. This is opposed to Loba, see Chapter 1, Note 9. Dana, or generosity, is implied thereby. This is a positive virtue involving active altruism. It is one of the three roots of good. Like a drop of water that runs off a lotus leaf without adhering to it, non-adhesion to an object is its chief characteristic. Adosa. This is opposed to dosa, see Chapter 1, Note 9. It is not mere absence of hatred or aversion, but is a positive virtue. Adosa is synonymous with metta, loving-kindness, which is one of the four illimitables. Readers will note that in enumerating the illimitables, only two are mentioned, viz., karuna and mudita. The reason being that metta is implied by this adosa, and upekkha by tatramaja tatta, equanimity. Adosa is also one of the three roots of good. Like an agreeable friend, absence of churlishness or coarseness, kandika, is its chief characteristic. Three roots of good. Alabha, adosa, and amoha are the three roots of good. Amoha is not mentioned amongst the 19 beautiful Sattasikas because it is implied by Panna wisdom. Athasalini gives a vivid description of these three virtues as follows. Of these three, Alobha has the characteristic of non-adhesion of the mind to an object, or of not sticking like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Its function is non-appropriation like an emancipated bhikkhu, arahant. Its manifestation is detachment like a man fallen in filth. Adosa has the characteristic of non-churlishness or non-resentment like an agreeable friend. Its function is the suppression of annoyance or feverishness like sandalwood. Its manifestation is loveliness like the full moon. The characteristic, function, etc. of amoha have been explained in connection with the term panindriya, faculty of wisdom. Of these three, again, alobha is opposed to the taint of selfishness, adosa to that of impurity, dusilia, amoha to the non-development of moral conditions. Alobha is the cause of generosity, adosa of morality, amoha of meditation. Through alobha, what is in excess is not taken, for the greedy take what is in excess. Through adosa, what is not less is taken, for the hateful take what is less. Through amoha, what is unperverted is taken, for the deluded take what is perverted. Through alobha, one regards a manifest fault as such and admits it, but the greedy conceal it. Through adosa, one regards a manifest virtue as such and admits it, but the hateful efface it. Through amoha, one regards what really is as such and admits it, but the deluded regard what is false as true, and what is true as false. Through alobha, there is no sorrow arising from separation of the beloved, for affection is the intrinsic nature of the greedy, as well as the inability to bear the separation from the beloved. Through adosa, there arises no sorrow from association with the unbeloved, since disagreeableness is the intrinsic nature of the hateful, as well as the inability to bear the association with the unbeloved. Through amoha, there arises no sorrow from not getting what one desires, for it is the intrinsic nature of the deluded to think, from where could it be got, etc. Through alobha, there arises no sorrow from rebirth, since the former is opposed to craving, and the latter is the root of craving. Through adosa, there arises no sorrow from decay, since the intensely hateful become quickly aged. Through amoha, there is no sorrow from death, for a bewildered death is painful. There is no such death for the undeluded. There is harmonious living to the lay people through alobha, to the recluses through amoha, and to all through adosa. In particular, through alobha, there is no rebirth in the plane of patas, since beings are generally born amongst patas through craving. Alobha is the antithesis of craving. Through adosa, there is no rebirth in the naraya, woeful state. Through hate, which is of a churlish nature, beings are born in woeful states resembling hatred. Adosa is the antithesis of hatred. Through amoha, there is no rebirth in the animal plane. Due to utter delusion through ignorance, beings are born amongst animals. Amoha is the antithesis of ignorance. Of them alobha dissuades attraction from lust, adosa from recoiling through hate, amoha from stolid indifference through ignorance. Moreover, through these three there arise respectively these three notions, those of renunciation, non-anger, and harmlessness, and those of loathsomeness, immeasurableness, and fundamental elements, dhatu. Through alobha, the extreme of indulgence in sensual pleasures is inhibited. Through adosa, that of self-mortification. Through amoha, there is training according to the middle path. Similarly, through alobha, the bodily bond of covetousness, abhijja kayagantha, is destroyed. Through adosa, that of ill will, and through amoha, the remaining two. The first two states of mindfulness are accomplished by the power of the first two, and the last two by the power of the third. Herein alobha is conducive to health, for the unattached person does not resort to what is attractive but suitable. Hence, health ensues. Adosa is conducive to youthfulness, for the unhateful person remains young for a long time, being not burnt by the fire of anger, which causes wrinkles and grey hair. Amoha is conducive to longevity of life, for the undeluded person, distinguishing between what is agreeable and disagreeable, avoids the latter and adopts the former, and lives long. Alobha is conducive to the acquisition of wealth, for by generosity wealth is obtained. Adosa is conducive to the acquisition of friends, for by loving kindness friends are won and are not lost. Amoha is conducive to personal achievements, for the undeluded person, doing only what is beneficial to himself, regulates his own self. Alobha is conducive to divine life, adosa to Brahma life, and amoha to Aryan life. Through alobha, one is at peace with his acquisition of wealth amongst beings and things belonging to one's party, for through their destruction there is no grief caused to him by excessive attachment. Through adosa amongst those belonging to other parties he is happy, for the inimical person is devoid of the feeling of ill will, even amongst the hostile. Through amoha, he is happy amongst those who belong to a neutral party, for the undeluded person is devoid of all attachment. Through alobha, there is insight into impermanence, for the greedy person does not see impermanence in things that are impermanent, owing to his desire for enjoyment. Through adosa, there is insight into suffering, for one with a loving disposition has abandoned that grasping, the cause of vexation, and sees things as sorrowful. Through amoha, there is insight into soullessness, for the undeluded person is skillful in understanding things as they truly are. He sees the guideless fivefold group as guideless. As insight into impermanence and so on is brought about by these three states, so are these states brought about by insight into impermanence and so on. Through insight into impermanence, there is alobha. Through insight into sorrow, adosa. Through insight into soullessness, amoha. Who indeed, knowing well that this is impermanent, would develop a desire for it? Who indeed, perceiving ill in things, would develop another ill caused by exceedingly violent anger? Who indeed, realizing the emptiness of a soul, would again fall into utter delusion? Athasalini, pages 137 to 139. See the Expositor, Volume 1, pages 167 to 170. Tatramaja tata, lit. Tatra equals there, i.e., with respect to objects. Majatata equals middleness, that is, equipoise. Impartial view of objects is its chief characteristic. It is compared to a charioteer who views equally a pair of well-trained horses. Tatramajhatata and upekkha, equanimity, are sometimes used as synonymous terms. It is this tatramajhatata that is regarded as upekkha of the four illimitables. Hence, upekkha does not occur amongst the illimitables. It is this tatramajhatata that is raised to the dignity of a bojjhanga, one of the 7 factors of enlightenment. Tatramajhatata has also to be distinguished from hedonic upekkha, or indifference. At times, both these mental states simultaneously arise in the same consciousness, e.g., in all upekkha-sagata kusala sittas. This tatramajhatata is regarded both as an intellectual and ethical upekkha. See Chapter 1, Note 42. Kaya pasadi and citta pasadi. Pasadi is composed of pas samb, to calm, to be tranquil. Pa plus sam plus ti pasati, pasadi. Pasadi is tranquility, calmness, quietude, serenity. The chief characteristic of pasadi is the suppression or the allaying of feverishness of passions, kilesa daratha vupasama. It is like the cool shade of a tree to a person affected by the sun's heat. Pasadi is opposed to uddhaka, restlessness or excitement. When highly developed, it becomes a factor of enlightenment, bojjhanga. This tranquility is twofold, viz., tranquility of kaya and citta. Here kaya is not used in the sense of material body. It is the body of psychic factors, namely vedana, feeling, sana, perception, and sankhara, mental states. It should be understood that kaya is used in the same sense in the subsequent satasikas. Citta connotes the whole consciousness. The difference therefore lies between psychic factors and consciousness as a whole. The same explanation applies to the other pairs as well. Kaya lahuta and citta lahuta, derived from lagu, light, quick, sketta lahuta. Lahuta is buoyancy or lightness. Suppression of the heaviness of the mind and mental factors is its chief characteristic. It is like the laying down of a heavy burden. It is opposed to thina and midda, sloth and torpor, which cause heaviness and rigidity in mental factors and consciousness. Kaya madutta and citta madutta, the chief characteristic of madutta is the suppression of stiffness and resistance. It removes stiffness and becomes pliable in receiving objects. It is compared to a skin that is well molded by applying oil, water, etc. It is opposed to false views and conceit, dithi and mana, which cause stiffness. Kaya kamanatta and citta kamanatta. Kama plus ta, kamanyati equals kamanatta. Lit. Workableness or serviceableness. Its chief characteristic is the suppression of unserviceableness or unworkableness of consciousness and its factors. It is like a heated metal made fit for any use. It is opposed to all the remaining hindrances. Athasalini states that these two allied concomitants produce serenity, pasada, in propitious things, and are adaptable like pure gold, for beneficial works. Kaya pagunata and citta pagunata, this is proficiency or skillfulness. Its chief characteristic is the suppression of sickness of mind and its concomitants. It is opposed to such passions as faithlessness, etc. Here is the cleaned-up text optimized for revoicer, stripped of diacritical accents, with broken OCR errors fixed and continuous numbering maintained. Kayujukata and Situjukata. This is straightness or rectitude, and is opposed to crookedness, deception and craftiness. Its chief characteristic is straightness. All these 19 concomitants are common to all types of moral consciousness, unlike the immoral concomitants, which do not arise in an immoral consciousness in toto. No moral consciousness arises without all of them. Along with this beautiful group, some other moral concomitants may arise according to the type of consciousness. Virati, V plus Ram, to delight in. Virati is refraining from, delighting in, i.e., abstinence. According to the Athasalini, there are 3 kinds of virati, namely Sampata virati, Samadhana virati, and Samacheda virati. Sampata virati is abstaining from evil as occasion arises considering one's birth, age, education, etc. Samadhana virati is abstaining from evil in accordance with one's observances. For example, a Buddha abstained from killing, stealing, etc., as he observes the precepts not to kill, etc. Samacheda virati is the abstinence of an Aryan disciple by completely eradicating all the roots of evil. In the case of the former 2, violation of good principles is possible, but in the case of arahants it is not, because they have destroyed all passions. Here are enumerated 3 abstinences pertaining to wrong speech, wrong actions, and wrong livelihood. Strictly speaking, these 3 mental concomitants collectively arise only in the supramundane consciousness, lokutara citta. In other cases, they arise separately because there are 3 satanas. These 3, when present in the lokutara citta, are regarded as factors of the path, maganga, and they constitute sila, morality. Prosody rate 10%. Samadhithi and samasankappa, which constitute panna, wisdom, are implied by panindriya and vitakka satasikas respectively. Samavayama, samasati, and samasamadhi, which constitute samadhi, concentration, are implied by virya, sati, and ekagata satasikas respectively. Samavaka deals with abstinence from false speech, musavada, slandering, pisunavaka, harsh speech, varusavaka, and frivolous talk, sampapalapa. Samakamanta deals with abstinence from killing, panatapata, stealing, adinadana, and sexual misconduct, kamesumichakara. Sama ajiva deals with abstinence from selling poison, intoxicants, weapons, slaves and animals for slaughter. Apamana, as the object of these virtues is the infinite number of beings, they are called apamana, lit, illimitable, ske apramanya. They are also called brahmavakara, sublime modes of living. Metta, karuna, mudita, and upekkha are these 4 illimitables. As explained above, metta and upekkha are represented by adosa and tatramajhata, hence only 2 are mentioned here. Metta, derived from mid, to soften, to love. According to Sanskrit, mitrasya bhava equals maitri, state of a friend. That which softens the mind or friendly disposition is metta. Goodwill, benevolence, loving kindness are suggested as the best renderings. Metta is not carnal love or affection. The direct enemy of metta is hatred or ill will, kodha. Its indirect enemy is affection, pema. Metta embraces all beings without exception. The culmination of metta is the identification of oneself with all beings, sabbatata. Metta is the sincere wish for the good and welfare of all. It discards ill will. Benevolent attitude is its chief characteristic. Karuna, ka, to do, to make plus una. That which makes the hearts of the good quiver when others are afflicted with sorrow is karuna. That which dissipates the sufferings of others is karuna. The wish for the removal of sufferings of others is its chief characteristic. Its direct enemy is wickedness, himsa, and its indirect enemy is grief, domanassa. Karuna embraces sorrow-afflicted beings. It discards cruelty. Mudita, derived from mud, to be pleased. It is not mere sympathy but appreciative joy. Its direct enemy is jealousy, and its indirect enemy is exaltation, pahasa. Its chief characteristic is happy acquiescence in others' prosperity, anumodana. Mudita embraces prosperous beings. It discards dislike, arati, and is the congratulatory attitude of a person. Upekkha, upa, impartially, justly, kek, to see, to view, to look. Upekkha is to view impartially, i.e., neither with attachment nor with aversion. It is the balanced state of mind. Its direct enemy is passion, raga, and its indirect enemy is unintelligent indifference. Attachment and aversion are eliminated by upekkha. Impartial attitude is its chief characteristic. Here, upekkha does not mean mere neutral feeling, but a sterling virtue is implied thereby. Equanimity is the closest equivalent. That term, too, conveys only one aspect of upekkha. See Chapter 1, Notes 1042. It is this upekkha that is elevated to a bhujanga factor. Upekkha embraces all good and bad ones, loved and unloved ones, agreeable and disagreeable things, pleasure and pain, and all such similar opposite pairs. The following illuminating note by Mrs. Rhys Davids on these four virtues is well worth reading. On these four great exercises, see Rhys Davids, SBE 11 page 201, note, and on their emancipating efficacy, M1 page 38. Buddhaghosa again refers the reader to his Visuddhimagga for a more detailed commentary, see Chapter 9, and of Hardy, Eastern Monachism, page 243 et seq. The object of thought, aramana, in this connection will be limited, if the student dwells in love, etc., on but a restricted number of beings. Infinite, if his heart embraces vast numbers. Prosody rate. The commentator has not a little to say in the present work, however, on the nature and mutual relations of the abodes, pages 193 to 195. First, the characteristics of each are fully set forth, together with their false manifestation, vipatti. Clinging, sinahasambhavo, is the vipatti of love, the essential mark of which is the carrying on of beneficent conduct, etc. Tears and the like are less truly characteristic of piti, karuna, than is the bearing and relieving the woes of others. Laughter and the like are less genuine expressions of sympathy, mudita, than is appreciation of what others have achieved. And there is a condition of disinterestedness, upekkha, which is prompted by ignorance, and not by that insight into the karma of mankind which can avail to calm the passions. He next designates the four antisocial attitudes which are to be extirpated by these ethical disciplines taken in order: ill will, vyapada, cruelty, vihesa, aversion, arati, and passion, raga, and shows how each virtue has also a second vice opposed to it. This he terms its near enemy, as being less directly assailed by it than its ethical opposite, the latter resembling an enemy who has to lurk afar in the jungle and the hills. Love and vengeful conduct cannot coexist. To prevail in this respect, let love be developed fearlessly, but where love and its object have too much in common, love is threatened by lust. On this side, let love be guarded well. Again, the near enemy to pity, more insidious than cruelty, is the self-pity pining for what one has not got or has lost, a low, profane melancholy, and the corresponding worldly happiness in what one has, or in consequence of obliviousness as to what one has lost, lies in wait to stifle appreciation of the good fortune of others. Lastly, there is the unintelligent indifference of the worldling, who has not triumphed over limitations nor mastered cause and effect, being unable to transcend external things. The remainder of his remarks are occupied with the necessary sequence in the four abodes, and the importance of observing method in their cultivation, and finally with their other technical appellation of apamana, or infinitudes. In this connection, he repeats the touching illustration given in Hardy, op. cit., page 249, of the mother and the four children. Her desire for the growth of the infant is as metta, for the recovery of the sick child as karuna, for the maintenance of the gifts displayed by the youth as mudita, while her care not to hinder the career of her grown-up son is as upekkha. It may be remarked, by the way, that when Hardy, with a foreigner's want of mudita, calumniates the Buddhist mendicant, page 250, as one who thinks about the virtues of solidarity without practicing them, he quite forgets that these exercises are but preparations of the will for that ministering to the intellectual needs of others, to which the recluse's life was largely devoted, and the importance of which the Western, in his zeal for material forms of charity, does not even now appreciate at its real value, and Buddhism did not believe in giving the rein to good impulses unregulated by intellectual control. Buddhist Psychology, pages 65 to 67. Panindriya, pa equals rightly, na, to know. Panna literally means right knowing. Its chief characteristic is understanding as it really is, or irresistible understanding, i.e. penetrative knowledge, yathasabhav, pativava akalita pativado. As panna dominates in understanding the real nature and as it overcomes ignorance, it is called a controlling faculty, indriya. In Abhidhamma, panna and amoha are used as interchangeable terms. In types of consciousness connected with knowledge, nana sampayuta, the reference is to this panna. By amoha, one of the three moral roots, is also meant this panna. As one of the four means of accomplishing one's ends, iddhipada, it assumes the name of vimamsa, lit. Examination. When purified by samadhi, panna assumes the honorable role of apina, higher knowledge. Highly developed panna is elevated to the state of abojjhanga, dhammavicaya, investigation of the truth, and maganga, samadhithi, right view. The culmination of panna is the omniscience of a Buddha. Panna, in the strictest sense of the term, is seeing things as they truly are, i.e., in the light of anicca, impermanence, dukkha, sorrow, and anatta, soullessness. Reason, intellect, insight, knowledge, wisdom, intelligence, all convey some aspects of panna, but none of them exactly corresponds to the Pali term. Both knowledge and wisdom are employed here according to the context. Rhys David's comment on this important term is interesting. She writes, "To fit the term panna with its approximate European equivalent is one of the cruces of Buddhist philosophy. I have tried in turn reason, intellect, insight, science, understanding, and knowledge. All of these have been, and are, used in the literature of philosophy with varying shades of connotation, according as the sense to be conveyed is popular and vague, psychological and precise or transcendental, and passez-moi le mot, having precise vagueness. And each of them might, with one implication or another, represent panna. The main difficulty in choice lay in determining whether, to the Buddhist, panna stood for mental function, or for the aggregate product of certain mental functioning, or for both. When all the allusions to panna in the Sutta Pitaka have been collated, a final translation becomes possible. Here it must suffice to quote 2. M1 page 292, he who has panna, pannava, is declared in virtue of to understand, pajanati, the nature of the phenomenon of pain or ill, the Four Noble Truths. In D1 page 124, Gautama asks, what is this panna? And himself sets out its content as consisting in certain intellectual attainments, viz., the jhanas, insight into the nature of impermanence, the mental image of one's self, the power of iddhi, the cosmic ear, insight into other minds, into one's own past lives, the cosmic eye, and the elimination of all vitiating tendencies. Buddhaghosa also, Visuddhimagga chapter 14, distinguishes panna from sana and vijnana. He describes it as adequate to discern not only what these can, sense objects and the three marks, impermanence, pain, and non-substantiality respectively, but also the path. For him, then, it might be called intellect at a higher power. And in Gautama's reply, all those terms are described in terms of intellectual process. Nevertheless, it is clear that the term did not stand for bare mental process of a certain degree of complexity, but that it also implied mental process as cultivated in accordance with a certain system of concepts, objectively valid for all Buddhist adepts. Hence, I think it best to reject such terms as reason, intellect, and understanding, and to choose wisdom, or science, or knowledge, or philosophy. Only they must be understood in this connection as implying the body of learning as assimilated and applied by the intellect of a given individual. Buddhist Psychology, pages 17 to 18. Different combinations of mental states, Pav 3. Tesam sitavutanam, yathayogamito param sitapadesu pachakam, sampayogo pavakati, satasabatha yujanti, yathayogam pakinaka, kudasa kusalesveva, subhanesveva subhana. Pak 3. The combination of each of these thought adjuncts in different types of consciousness will hereafter be dealt with accordingly. 7 are linked with every type of consciousness. The 6 particulars are linked accordingly. The 14 are linked only with the immorals, the 19 beautiful, only with the beautiful. Per 4. Katham. Sabachita sadarana tava sata chitasika sabasupi ekunanavuti chittapadesu labanti. Pakinakesu panna. A. Vitako tavad vipanchavinyana vajitakama vakarasitasu, cheva ekadasasu, pathamajana chitsu, chati panchapanasa chitsu pajati. B. Vikaro panatesu cheva ekadasasu dutya janatitesu, ati chasati chitesu jayati. C. Adimokod vipanchavinyana vichikichavajititesu. Viryam panchadvaravajana vipanchavinyana, sampatichana santirana vajitachitesu. E. Pitidomanasu pekasa hagata, kaya vinyana, katuthajana vajitachitesu. Chandoa hetuka, momohavajititesu labati. Brag 5. Tipana chitupadaya thakamam. Chasati panchapanasa, ekadasa chasolasa satati visaiva, pakinakavi vajita, panchapanasa chasati thasatati tisatati, ekapanchasa kuna, satati sapakinaka. 4. In what way? In the first place, the 7 mental states common to every consciousness are found in all the 89 types of consciousness. Among the particular mental states, A. Initial application arises in 55 types of consciousness, to wit, I. In all types of kamavakara consciousness, excluding the twice fivefold sense consciousness, 54 to 10's 44. 2. Also in the 11 types of first jhana consciousness, 44 plus 11 equals 55. Sustained application arises in 66 types of consciousness, to wit, in those 55 and in the 11 types of second jhana consciousness, 55 plus 11 equals 66. Decision arises in all types of consciousness, excluding the twice fivefold sense consciousness and consciousness accompanied by doubt. 8911 equals 78. Effort arises in all types of consciousness, excluding the sense door directing consciousness, twice fivefold sense consciousness, receiving consciousness, and investigating consciousness. 8916 73. E. Joy arises in all types of consciousness, excluding those accompanied by displeasure and indifference, equanimity, body consciousness, and the fourth jhana consciousness. 121, 2 plus 55 plus 2 plus 11, 51. F. Conation arises in all types of consciousness, excluding the aheticus and the 2 modes of consciousness accompanied by delusion. 8920, 69. Braga 5. Those types of consciousness in order are 66, 55, 11, 16, 70 and 20 without the particulars, 55, 66, 78, 73, 51, 69 are with the particulars. Here is the cleaned-up continuation of the text, with diacritical marks removed, OCR errors corrected, formatting standardized, and all constraints maintained. Akusala setasika 6. Akusalesu panamoho ahirikam, anotapam, udakam kati katarame chatasika sabakusalasadarana nama. Sabesupid vadasakusalesu labanti. Lobo athasu lopasahagatasveva labati. Dithi katusu dithigatasampayutesu. D mano katusu dithigatavipayutesu. E doso isa machariam, kukacham kadvisu patigachatesu. F thinam midam panchasu sasankarikachatesu. Vichikicha sahagatachiteva labatiti. 7. Sabapunesu kataro, lobamulesu tayo gata. Dosamulesu katataro, sasankare dvayam tatha. Vichikicha chite, kati katadasa vadasakasalesveva, sampayujanti pankada. Immoral mental states. 6. Of the immoral mental states, these 4, namely delusion, moral shamelessness, moral fearlessness, and restlessness, are common to every immoral consciousness. B. Attachment is found only in the 8 types of consciousness rooted in attachment. C. Misbelief is found in the 4 types of consciousness accompanied by wrong view. D. Conceit is found in the 4 types of consciousness dissociated with wrong view. E. Hatred, jealousy, avarice, and worry are found in the 2 types of consciousness accompanied by ill will. F. Sloth and torpor are found in the 5 types of prompted consciousness. G. Doubt is found only in the type of consciousness accompanied by doubt. Summary. 4 are found in all immorals, 3 in those rooted in attachment, 4 in those rooted in ill will, and so are 2 in the prompted. Doubt is found in the consciousness accompanied by doubt. Thus the 14 are conjoined only with the 12 immorals in 5 ways. Subhana Seta Sikha. A. Sobhane supana sobhana sadarana tava ekuna visati chitasika sabbesu pi ekuna sasti sobhana chitesu samvijanti. Viratio panatisopi lokutara chitesu sabathapi niata ekatova labanti. Lokiesu panakamavachara kusalesv eva kadasi sandasanti visum visum. Apamanayo panad vadasasu panchamajhana vajita mahagatachitesu, cheva kamavachara kusalesu chasahetuka kamavachara karyachitesu, chati athavisati chitesv, eva kadachi nanahut vajayanti. Prosody resagatesu panetha karuna mudita, nasantiti kechi vedanti. Panna panadvadasasu nanasampayuta kamavacharachitesu. Cheva sabesu panchatim samahagata lokutarachitesu. Chati satakatalisa chitesu sampayogam gachatiti. Paragraph 9. Ekunavisati dhamma jayantekuna sastisu. Tayo solasachitesu attavisatiam dvayam. Panna pakasita satakatalisa vidhesu pi. Sampayuta katudvevam sobhanesv eva sobhana. Beautiful mental states. A. Of the beautiful. At first, the 19 mental states common to the beautiful are found in all the 59 types of beautiful consciousness. B. The 3 abstinences are definitely obtained all at once, in all places in the supramundane types of consciousness. But in the mundane sense sphere, moral types of consciousness, they are at times present severally. 8 plus 8, 16. C. The illimitables arise at times differently in 28 types of consciousness, namely, the 12 sublime types of consciousness, excluding the 5th jhanas, the 8 moral types, and the 8 sahetuka functional types of sense sphere consciousness. Some, however, say that compassion and appreciative joy are not present in the types of consciousness accompanied by upekkha, equanimity or indifference. 12 to 8 plus 8 equals 28. D. Wisdom goes into combination with 47 types of consciousness, namely, the 12 kinds of sense sphere consciousness, accompanied by wisdom, all the 35 sublime and supramundane consciousness. 12 plus 35 equals 47. Paragraph 9. 19 states arise in 59, 3 in 16, 2 in 28 types of consciousness. Wisdom is declared to be in 47 types. Beautiful are only in the beautiful. Thus they are combined in 4 ways. Chitaskarasi Sangaho, Brak 10, Isamakera Kukcha, Virati Karunadayo, Nanakadatsi Manocha, Thina Midam Tathasaha Yathavutanusarena, Sesanyata Yogino, Sangahancha Pavakami, Tesam Dani Yatharaham, Chatim Sanutare Dhamma, Panchatim Samahagate, Athatim Sapi Labanti Kamavakara Sobane, Satavisatya Punamhi, Dvadasahetukati Cha Yathasambhavayogena, Panchada Tatha Sangaho. Lark 11th, Katham, A. Lokutari sutava athasu pathamajani kachitesu anasamana terasa chitasika apamanavajitevisati subhana chitasika chati chatimsa dhammasangaham gachanti. B. Tatha dutyajani kachitesu vitakavaja. C. Tatyajani kachesu vitaka vikaravaja. D. Katuthajani kachitesu vitaka vikara pitivaja. E. Panchamajani kachitesu pupekasahagata te eva sangahantiti sabatha piathasu lokutarachitesu panchamajana panchadava sangahahotiti. Chatinsa pankatimsa ka tatatimsa yathakamam tetimsadvayam ichevyam pangchadanutare theta. Contents of different types of consciousness. Paragraph 10. Jealousy, avarice, worry, abstinences. 3. Compassion, appreciative joy, and conceit arise separately and occasionally. So are sloth and torpor in combination. The remaining factors, apart from those mentioned above, 52, 11, 41, are fixed adjuncts. Now I shall speak of their combination accordingly. 36 factors arise in the supramundane, 35 in the sublime, 38 in the kamavakara beautiful, 27 in the demeritorious, 12 in the rootless. According to the way they arise, their combination therein is 5-fold. Supramundane consciousness, paragraph 11. How? A. At first in the 8 types of supramundane first jhana types of consciousness, 36 factors enter into combination, namely, 13 anasamanas and 23 beautiful mental factors, excluding the 2 illimitables. 13 plus 23 equals 36. B. Similarly, in the supramundane second jhana consciousness, all the above, excluding initial application. C. In the third, all those, excluding initial application and sustained application. D. In the fourth, all those, excluding initial application, sustained application, and joy. In the 5th jhana type of consciousness, which is accompanied by equanimity, all those excluding initial application, sustained application, joy, and happiness. Thus, in every way, 5-fold is the synthesis of mental factors arising in the 8 types of supramundane consciousness, according to the 5 jhanas. Respectively, there are 36, 35, 34, and 33 in the last 2. Thus, in 5 ways they arise in the supramundane. Notes: Aniyatayogi and Niyatayogi. Of the 52 types of mental states, 11 are called Aniyatayogi, unfixed adjuncts. They arise in different kinds of consciousness separately because their particular objects differ. They may or not arise in those types of consciousness to which they are allied. For instance, Issa, Macharya, and Kukuka must arise in a consciousness connected with aversion. One of the three must arise at one particular moment. All the three do not occur simultaneously. Besides, they are not bound to be present in such a consciousness. So are the three abstinences, two illimitables, conceit, sloth, and torpor. The remaining 41 types are called niyata-yogi, fixed adjuncts. They invariably arise in those types of consciousness allied to them. Abstinences. These three are collectively found only in the supramundane consciousness, as they constitute 3 of 8 factors of the Noble Path. They cannot arise in the Rupavakara and Arupavakara, nor in the Kamavakara Vipaka and Kriya Sittas. They deal with 3 forms of refraining from committing evil through word, deed, and livelihood. As such, they arise separately only in the 8 types of moral consciousness, according to the abstinence from the particular evil. These abstinences appear in full force only in the Lokuttara Sittas, because the corresponding evils are completely eradicated by them. In the Kamavakara Kusala Sittas, there is only a temporary inhibition of evil. As Kamavakara Vipaka Sittas are merely effects, they cannot arise in them. Since Kriya Sittas are experienced only by arahants, they do not arise in them. In the Rupavakara and Arupavakara planes, they do not occur because the need for moral purification, the function of these abstinences, does not arise there. Illimitables. Of the 4, only 2 are mentioned here. The other 2 have already been dealt with in their respective places. It should be noted that the objects of these illimitables are beings. Therefore, they cannot arise in the supramundane consciousness, which has for its object Nibbàna. This does not mean that arahants and other Aryans do not possess these virtues. They are not present only in the path and fruit consciousness. They do not occur in the 5th jhana, as it is accompanied by upekkha, neutral feeling. In the Arupacittas also they do not arise, as they also are connected with upekkha. In the 8 Kriya Sittas, which the arahants experience, they arise because the arahants also radiate thoughts of karuna and mudita towards all beings. Mahagata, Sittani. 12. Mahagatesu Panna. Tisu Pathamajanika Chitesu Tava Anasamana Terasa Chitasika Viratitaya Vajita Dvavisati, Subhana Chitasika Chati Panchatimsa Dhamma, Sangaham Gachanti. Karuna, Mudita Panetha Pachekameva Yojataba. Tatha B. Dutiyajanika Chitesu Vitakavaja. C. Tatiyajanika Chitesu Vitaka Vikaravaja. D. Katuthajanika Chitesu Vitaka Vikara Pitivaja. E. Panchamajanika Chittesu Panapannarasasu Apamanayo na Labantiti Sabbathapi Sattavisati. Mahagata Chittesu Panchakajhanavasena Panchadava Sangahohotiti. Pankatimsa Katutimsa Tettimsa Kayathakamam Dvatimsa Chevatimseti Pankadava Mahagat. Sublime Consciousness. Section 12. A. At first, in the 3 types of sublime first jhana consciousness, 35 factors go into combination, namely 13 anasamana mental factors and 22 beautiful mental factors, excluding the 3 abstinences. 13 plus 22 equals 35. Here, compassion and appreciative joy should be combined separately. B. Similarly, in the 2nd jhana consciousness, initial application is excluded. C. In the 3rd jhana consciousness, initial application and sustained application are excluded. D. In the 4th jhana consciousness, initial application, sustained application, and joy are excluded. E. In the 15 types of 5th jhana consciousness, the illimitables are not obtained. In all the 27 types of sublime consciousness, the combination is 5-fold according to the 5 kinds of jhanas. There are respectively 35, 34, 33, 32, and 30. 5-fold is the combination in the sublime. Footnote 51. They are found only in the Lokuttara Sittas and the Kamavakara Kusala Sittas. Footnote 52. Because they do not arise simultaneously as their objects vary. Footnote 53. i.e., 3 5th jhanas and 12 arupa jhanas. The jhana factors of the arupa jhanas are identical. Illimitables do not occur in them because they are accompanied by upekkha. Kamavakara Sobhana Cittani. Section 14. Kamavakara Sobhanesu Panakusalesu Tava Pathamadvaye. Anasamana Terasa Chitasika Panchavisati Sobhana Chetasika Chatiathatimsa Dhamma Sangaham Gachanti. Apamana viratio panetha panchapi pachekameva yojetaba. He, tatha dutiadvaye nanavajita. He, tatiadvaye nanasampayuta pitivajita. Vikatutadvaye nanapitivajita. Te eva sangai hanti. Kirichitasupi virativajita. Tatha eva chatusupi duksu chatudava sangai hanti. Tatha vipakesu cha apamana virativajita. Te eva sangai hanti ti sabathapi chatuvisati kamavachara sabana chitisu dukavasena dvasadava sangahotiti. Section 15. Athatimsa satatimsa, dvayam chatimsakam supe panchatimsa katutimsa, dvayam tetimsakam kridvatimsa, dvaikatimsakam, bhave sahetukamavachara, punapakakriya mane. Section 16. Navijantetha virati, kriyasu kamahagate, anutare apamana, kamapake dvayam tatha, anutare janadama, apamana kamajame, virati nana pitika, paritesu visasaka. Sense sphere, beautiful consciousness. Section 14. At first, in the first two types of sense sphere, beautiful consciousness, 38 states go into combination, namely 13 miscellaneous and 25 beautiful mental states. 13 plus 25 equals 38. The two illimitables and the three abstinences should be fitted in severally. 2. Similarly, in the second couplet, all of them arise excluding wisdom. In the third couplet, associated with wisdom, joy is excluded. If, in the fourth couplet, wisdom and joy are excluded. In the functional consciousness, the three abstinences are excluded. Likewise, in the four couplets, they are combined in four ways. Similarly, in the resultant consciousness, they all arise except the illimitables and the abstinences. Thus, in all the 24 types of sense sphere, beautiful types of consciousness, the combination is 12-fold according to pairs. Section 15. With respect to sense sphere consciousness with roots, moral, resultant, and functional, here arise in the moral, first pair, 38, twice 37 in the second and third pairs, and 36 in the fourth pair. In the functional, 35 in the first pair, twice 34 in the second and third pairs, 33 in the fourth pair. In the resultant, 33 in the first pair, twice 32 in the second and third pairs, 31 in the fourth pair. Section 16. Herein the abstinences are not present in the functional and sublime consciousness, so are illimitables in the supramundane and the two illimitables and abstinences in the sense resultants. In the highest, the jhana factors are distinctive, in the middle, the illimitables and jhana factors, in the small, the abstinences, wisdom, and joy. Footnote 54, i.e., Somana Sasahagata Nanasampayuta Asankarika and Sasankarika Sitta, prompted and unprompted consciousness, accompanied by pleasure and associated with wisdom. Footnote 55. Because they are not fixed adjuncts, they arise at different moments of conscious experience. Footnote 56. Being accompanied by upekkha. Footnote 57. Because the arahants have completely eradicated the abstinences. Footnote 58. Illimitables do not arise because they have limitless beings as the objects, while the resultants are restricted to lesser objects. The abstinences are absolutely moral. Hence, they do not arise in a resultant consciousness. In the supramundane fruit consciousness, they however arise because it is like a reflection of the path consciousness. Footnote 59, i.e. 37 in each of the second and third couplets. Footnote 60, i.e. in the Rupavakara-Arupavakara planes, because no occasion arises for such evil to spring up. Footnote 61, CP 154, N54. Footnote 62. The supramundane consciousness, when classified according to 5 jhanas, differs with respect to jhana factors. Footnote 63. Rupavakara and Arupavakara. Footnote 64. Kai in the text includes jhana factors. Footnote 65. Kamavakara. Footnote 66. Morals differ from resultants and functionals on account of abstinences. Morals and functionals differ from resultants on account of illimitables. Respective couplets differ on account of wisdom and joy. Akusala Tsitani. Section 17. I. Akusalesu pana lobhamalesu tava pathamaya sankarike anasamana terasa tsitasika akusala sadarana kataro chati satarasa lobhadithi sadimakuna visati dhamma sangaham gachanti tatheva dutiya sankarike lobhamanena Tatya tatheva pitivajita lobadithihi saha atharasa. Footnote 75. I. First and second asankarika sitta equals 19. 2. third and fourth asankharika citta equals 18, fifth asankharika citta equals 20, IV, first and second sasankharika citta equals 21, V, third and fourth sasankharika citta equals 20, Vi, fifth sasankharika citta equals 22, V, moha citta 15. Thus, they divide themselves into 7 classes according to numbering. Footnote 76, i.e., excluding Chanda, Piti, and Adhimokkha from the 13 anasamanas. Section 20. Dvadasa kadasa dasa satati tubido atharasa hetakesu citupadesu sangaho. Ahetakesu sabatha sata sesi atharaham, iti vittharato vutatetim savida sangaho. Itham chittavutanam sampayogancha sangaham, natva bedam yathayogam chittana samamudasati. Rootless consciousness. Section 19. I. With respect to rootless, in the consciousness of aesthetic pleasure, to begin with, 12 unmoral mental states, excluding conation, enter into combination. 7 plus 5 equals 12, 2. Likewise, they occur in the determining consciousness, excluding conation and joy. 7 plus 4 is 11. He, in the investigating consciousness, accompanied by pleasure, all but conation and effort. 7 plus 4, 11. Footnote 77. In the consciousness connected with laughter, there is no wish to do. Footnote 78. It is the manodvara vajana, mind-door consciousness, that assumes the name votthapana, determining. Footnote 79. Although santirana means investigating, it is a passive resultant consciousness. It lacks both will and effort. IV. In the manodhatu triplet and in the pair of rootless relinking types of consciousness, all except conation, joy, and effort. 7 plus 3 equals 10. In the 2 types of 5-fold sense consciousness, all enter into combination, except the particulars. 7. Thus, in all the 18 types of rootless consciousness, the mental states numerically considered constitute 4 groups. Section 20. 12, 11, 10, 7. Thus, their grouping with respect to the 18 rootless types of consciousness is 4-fold. In all the rootless, the 7 universals occur. The rest particulars arise accordingly. Thus, in detail, the groupings are told in 33 ways. Footnote 80. Manodhatu, lit. The mere faculty of apprehension, manamatta meva dhatu. It comprises the panchadvara vajana, sense-door consciousness, and the 2 sampatichanas, recipient consciousness. The 10 types of sense consciousness are called dvipanka vinanadhatu. The remaining 76 types of consciousness are termed mano vinanadhatu, as they excel others in apprehension. Both sampatichanas are accompanied by upekkha, which does not coexist with piti. Like the santirana, these 2 are resultants and are passive, therefore they lack both effort and will. In the panchadvara vajana, too, as in manodvara vajana, effort and will are lacking. Footnote 81. The 2 santiranas accompanied by upekkha, both moral and immoral resultants, are known as the ahetuka patisandayugala, the pair of rootless relinking types of consciousness. Conception in woeful states is obtained by the akusala ahetuka santirana, and amongst human beings as congenitally blind, deaf, etc., by the kusala ahetuka santirana. This pair is also accompanied by upekkha. Footnote 82. They are mere passive types of resultant consciousness. Footnote 83. Namely I5 in Anuttara, 2-5 in Mahagata, 3-12 in Kamavakara, IV7 in Akusala, V4 in Ahetuka equals 33. Understanding thus the combinations and synthesis of the mental adjuncts, let one explain their union with the consciousness accordingly. Footnote 84. In this chapter are explained in what types of consciousness the respective mental states are present, and what types of mental states occur in each type of consciousness. The author concludes the chapter advising the readers to explain the union of these mental states with each consciousness accordingly, as for example, universals are 89-fold because they are present in all the types of consciousness. Phassa of the particulars is 55-fold because it arises in 55 types of consciousness, etc.